What is wind energy? Wind energy are turbines that are built. Now, some people that are old school in the industry are going to get mad at you if you call them a windmill. I don't really care. But just know that if you see somebody crinkle their nose because you said a windmill instead of wind turbine, you're dealing with somebody OG in the industry. Wind energy is a great power production option, especially for landowners. Landowners get a lease payment that is consistent. And when you're dealing with the volatility of the weather, having that steady state income and still being able to ranch around it and being able to farm around it and being able to drill around it for oil and gas makes wind a really great land use option to diversify your income stream. Now, wind is basically a great utility option. It's usually blowing at night unless you're on the coastal wind or offshore, then you got a lot of wind in the day. Just look at Texas. We have a ton of wind at night, except when you look around Corpus Christi where we have a ton of close to shore wind coming in during the day. Now, since 2000, we've really seen this really grow. In the 90s, these were smaller things out in Eastern California that have grown to what you now see in West Texas, California, and the central US. These are amazing opportunities that don't consume any water. There's only two types of technologies that don't consume water when we're producing power. That's wind and that's solar. And as we get into tightness around water supplies, these technologies are going to be more and more impactful. People will always talk about how, well, what do you do when they go out of service or anything? Listen, the developers have a bond. It will take it back to Greenfield. But it is important that we have circularity built into this. And one of the biggest things is that last 10%, right? We want to get to the finish line on being fully circularly recyclable, but 90% of it's just steel and metal and magnets, but the blades aren't. The blades are fiberglass. They're huge, they're dense, they're really hard to break down. That's why in the past you've seen these elephant graveyards of wind blades out in Iowa or Texas. Now, the industry is actively working towards that, and there are tons of companies. Even one of our episodes with Cody Earl talks about how they're recycling wind blades and decommissioning them. So these solutions exist, we're getting there, and we've actively supported legislation, most recently in the Texas legislature, to require companies to recycle these blades. And that wasn't something shoved down everyone's throat. That was by Representative Lambert in an area that has a lot of these and understands the nuance around it. And then the industry backed him up on that. Now listen, I love oil and gas, but when frac pads and frac ponds are talked about having a liner so they don't leak into the ground, the industry pushes back against that, which I'm not in favor of, because then the hippies come in and they start telling us how to do our business. And that's not good for energy. We need to monitor and measure ourselves and regulate ourselves. And that's what this industry is doing right now. So the wind industry is a really great place. We pull largely from oil and gas workers on the field. If you've worked on a drilling room floor, you're going to do great in oil and gas. And these are not hippies showing up to wind turbines to fix them. These are guys and gals showing up in dualies to go fix them. You don't build a wind tower without a diesel crane doing the lifts. But once it's up and running, it's industrial maintenance. You're a diesel generator at 300 feet operating without the gas fumes in your face. So a lot of Navy techs get into this. This is a huge opportunity for our veterans and other blue-collar craft trades to get in for jobs that can be making six figures after a couple of years of work. As we continue to grow, the wind industries continue to operate in these really great places in rural America where it's diversifying the income stream for these landowners. It's not just providing them one single stream of opportunity, they're ranching around it, they're farming around it, they're drilling oil and getting those royalties around it. Wind is part of a portfolio that is steady, it is stable, it's a negotiated price, and it's coming in. And it also helps the local municipalities that are funding schools, buses, ambulances, fire trucks. Some municipalities that couldn't afford to have these services are now getting them. This is going to foster a lot of returning youth and families staying inside these communities and preserving their way of life. If it weren't for wind power and the dollars that it brings into local communities, these things wouldn't be able to sustain. As the industry continues to grow, we want to grow with it, and this is one of the fastest growing markets inside of the US economy for jobs. This is a great place for you to land, and I want to help you get there.